It is the 1st of March 2020. Spring is on the horizon, and coronavirus is deep within our hearts, which is the perfect opportunity to do another review or analysis or commentary, whatever you want to call it, of a Mythic Plus run. So let's get started here. Right out of the gate, we're playing, a very atypical comp for the most part. We have Proud Warrior, very common. Demon Hunter, very common. Holy Paladin, very common. Assassination Rogue, uncommon. And Windwalker Monk, extremely uncommon. That's the comp we're going with here. Overall, pretty solid comp. Nothing really to hate about it. It doesn't have a blue class in it, but I am using font. Like a blue class, I am using font. I'm using double on use to try to emulate my superior blue brethren. Let's get started. I'm going to do pre-font into this 3-pack. And as in typical Season 4 fashion for Temple of Sethraliss, you're going to pull this 3-pack so that you gain access to the obelisk, which allows you to skip all the way to the first boss. Unfortunately here, I channeled font a little bit too late, so I don't get in right away. But I use my Serpent Kick, get in there. I'm going to use all of my cooldowns here on these guys so that they are up when we engage the first boss of the encounter. And you're going to notice here one of the nice parts of having a assassination rogue is garrote silence. So the assassination rogue is going to open up with 3 garrotes on all 3 targets, which prevents the dust devil from casting for the first 6 seconds of the encounter, which helps out a ton. But now we have to get interrupts. I'm just, Mongo punching, AoEing. I can't be bothered with doing interrupts at this point. I'm too busy punching things. And I'm going to be using my second on-use trinket in approximately 1 second once I notice it. When do I notice it? I don't notice it. So I don't use it on this pull. Again, this is like my first pull of trying out double on-use. I think what I took from this dungeon and from further dungeons we did during the night is that double on use is a fire mage thing. Not really my thing. Maybe if I had a plumage, maybe. But no. The way it is now, currently, the way I have set it up, no. No. You're gonna notice here I also took the Ascension talent in this dungeon. I like having Ascension in this dungeon in particular because of the amount of dispelling and healing that you're going to do, and dispelling and healing both cost energy. So having more energy and having more energy regeneration is going to make your life a little bit easier in that respect. It's a little bit harder to manage your energy when you have to cast Fist of the White Tiger, and then you're like, oh, I need to dispel, and I'm like, okay, I don't have energy for it. And then he dies, and he's upset at me for not dispelling when I'm just exhausted all the time. So we're going to kill this marksman, and then we're going to head into the first obelisk, which is the slime. The slime that has mind flay adds, ideally the Prot Warrior tank goes in first, and then you wait everyone else waits a few seconds. And then all of the Mind Rend tentacles are spawned simultaneously, and they will all simultaneously target the Prot Warrior tank, who in turn will cast Spell Reflection, which will then reflect every single one of the mind flays from the tentacles for the first one. Extremely good. We don't do that here, but it is extremely good. Also keep in mind that this week is Raging, and the adds within the obelisk realms gain affixes, which in turn means they gain Raging. So the tentacles, when they hit 30%, they're going to start raging. So you want to have ideally all of them dead, or save your stuns and interrupts so that the casts do not go off if they are raging. Otherwise, you're going to have a sad panda healer. He's going to be upset at you. But excellent positioning by Yoda War here. He's going to drag the Blood of the Corruptor over to the tentacle, allowing for melee to simultaneously cleave the boss and the tentacles at the same time. He drags it over to this one first in order to bait the first slime puddle on the ground, and then he's going to drag it over to the double tentacle in the corner, which then allows even more cleave. Unfortunately, I'm stuck over here, and I'm committed to killing this tentacle. I'm going to touch of Karma. I'm going to try to kill it. And then you see what we're dealing with right now. We're dealing with raging tentacles. The casts are going off. There's 2 casts on Morning. You see his health dwindling. And the healer, Sad Panda. Additionally, the tentacle that I left and used Touch of Karma on is now raging, casting on evade, and it is destroying him. Destroying him. He almost goes down, even though he's a demon hunter and he has some sick tattoos that fortunately allow him to live in this case. Because otherwise, if he was a normal class, he would have be dead for sure. He uses blur, tries to live as much as he can, ends up living. Very good. Very good heads up play by him. Now, we're going to do a strategy with the blob where we've kind of run out of space up there, and we can't realistically fight that Mind Rend tentacle without standing in one of the puddles on the ground. So what we're going to do is, we're going to drag this blood to the first boss area, and once you get to a certain out of range, like a certain range, the Mind Rend tentacles can't target anybody, and they go, screw this, I'm going to burrow under the ground, and I'm going to teleport directly to you, which is what happens here. The Mind Rend tentacle teleports to us. Unfortunately, it leaves a puddle at the same time, so we're not able to take advantage of this fully, but we do get some damage in on it. And we're going to continue to drag it. Just continually drag it. It's very important that we don't want to get hit by these puddles. These puddles hurt a lot if you stand in them, so it's very bad if you get hit by them. Additionally, I want to point out that while I'm talking about the Mind Rend tentacles and how much of a pain they can be on this week, the Blood of the Corruptor is no exception. The Blood of the Corruptor is applying an enormous amount of necrotic stacks. Somehow, this blood has a very fast attack speed. Even though he doesn't have arms or a face, he just thrusts his body into the tank very rapidly, it appears. But he applies a lot of necrotic stacks. And so we're basically on a timer to kill this guy. Otherwise, evade, the Havoc Demon Hunter will have to taunt with blur or something. But what ends up happening is I Tiger's Lust the tank. I'll go back there. So I Tiger's Lust. So I see his stacks are high, and I see that he's walking away from the blob, and he probably wants to kite it because the blood is also low, and we do not want to be killing the blood here. Because whenever this blood dies, it's going to leave the exit portal, which we do not want to leave here. We want to leave next to the boss so that we can just engage the boss immediately instead of having to fight any trash. So I see that he's kiting away, and he's going to want to kite because he has a lot of stacks in necrotic. And he wants to not kill the blob there, so I'm going to Tiger's Lust him in order for him to get around the corner faster and not take any auto attacks. Which makes him happy and fast and safe. So he drops his stacks, goes back in, and we're going to kill it right here. But this is close enough to the boss where we won't pull any trash. And we're going to immediately engage the first boss, Adderus and Aspects. So start of the fight, Aspects is going to gain Lightning Shield. And very important to note, what you want to do here is Aspects is going to cast Jolt on a random player, and you want to be interrupting this as much as you can. Now, how you interrupt is very important. You can't just walk over and then press your interrupt on him, right? As a melee DPS, because it is very possible as a melee DPS that you will accidentally auto attack him when he has his Lightning Shield on, which results in you immediately dying. So what you want to do is you want to have a focus macro. You want to focus Aspects, target focus, and then you want to have a macro that interrupts or casts your interrupt spell on your focus target, so that when you have to interrupt, you can go over to him, and then you can just press your focus interrupt macro, which will then result in him just interrupting, and you will have no chance of actually damaging him to proc his Lightning Shield. Very important. But we're going to be hitting Adderus first. Now, Adderus, when he's doesn't have Lightning Shield, he's going to be casting Cyclone Strike at a random player's location. And you want, ideally, if you have a Prot Warrior in your group, it does not target the Prot Warrior. Because if it does not target the Prot Warrior can spell reflect the Cyclone Strike. Yes. It makes no sense. And it's very unintuitive in terms of why you would be able to spell reflect that, but you can do it. Let's watch and see. Here comes Arcing Blade. Arcing Blade splits damage based on the targets that are hit. So it does like a set amount of damage, and then it splits that damage amongst the targets that were hit. So if your range standing in melee actually is a benefit, because then it makes it deal less damage overall amongst the party, which is easier to deal with. We're going to see Evade got the first kick on the Aspect Jolt, and then here comes Cyclone Strike, along with the second Jolt. Now, a Morning Wind is going to be interrupting the second Jolt. But here comes the Cyclone Strike. He Cyclone Strikes on Morning Wind. It targeted him. We're going to go over here. And then the Yoda War is going to stand in front of the boss on purpose with Spell Reflect. And here we go. Here it comes. Boom! 11% of the boss's HP gone. And that, my friends, is one of the many reasons why Prot Warrior is exceptionally good. Oh, I guess more specifically, Spell Reflection is insanely good. 11% of the boss's HP gone immediately. Now, Aspect, you see in the top right, Aspect is about to hit 50 energy. Once he hits 50 energy, I believe he casts Conduction. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Well, he's going to cast Conduction now. About 60 energy. I believe it's 50 energy when he's supposed to cast it, but I think what happens is that the Jolt is the same school of magic as Conduction, and if you interrupt him, the lockout is still affecting Conduction, so it'll mess with his timings. You can notice this if you kick late and stuff, it'll make some weird overlaps of the abilities, which makes the fight very difficult. But he's going to cast Conduction. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the mechanic, Conduction's going to put it's going to target a random player and put a giant circle on them that will detonate after a time and deal huge damage. You want to move out of the group for this, and ideally use the defensive because it does a lot of damage. Now it's on me. So I don't have Touch of Karma yet. I can't use Karma on this, so I'm going to use Diffuse Magic. Ideally, I would want to use Karma because it does damage and pretty nice. Additionally, I have to interrupt this next Jolt cast that's going off, and there's going to be a Cyclone Strike happening in 5 seconds, and a Static Shock that will happen immediately after. So this is kind of the hardest point of the fight. I have to go over here, I use my Focus Kick macro, interrupt Aspects. Additionally, since I'm already out here and I can't do damage anyway, I'm going to move out of the group. Now, JB is going to use Blessing of Sacrifice on me, which is like a kind of a shield wall for me, but he also shares the damage. And I don't want to kill JB. I like JB. I like my healer. I want my healers to live and enjoy life. Right? So I'm going to use my defensive too, so that he doesn't take nearly as much damage. Now I'm trying to time this defensive. I'm trying to time this diffuse magic because it lasts long enough. I'm trying to time it so that it affects this Conduction and additionally the Static Shock after it. So I'm getting double benefit from this defensive use. So I'm going to try to use Diffuse Magic at the last possible moment. I kind of wait until 2 seconds left. I could have waited maybe a little bit longer, but I wanted to play it safe and not die from this because it does a lot of damage. As you can see, even with Diffuse Magic and Blessing of Sacrifice, I still lose 30% of my HP. This is 21 Tyrannical. This does a lot of damage. You don't want to mess around. I use my Crackling Jade Lightning on Adaris. The reason being for that is because I wanted to refresh my hit combo buff, not have that fall off, because I was off the boss for so long. But you're going to see the Cyclone Strike timing and the Static Shock timing are about to come up. Aspects will cast Static Shock at 100 energy. He's about to hit that. So the timer, we interrupt in such a way that the timers have literally synced. Beautiful. Not beautiful, but it's something. Literally synced. Now, unfortunately... Fortunately for me, the Cyclone Strike is not pointed at me, otherwise it creates some very awkward things, because I'm pretty far away from the boss. I'd have to, book it to the other side of the boss to avoid that thing. But I still have my Diffuse Magic and this Blessing of Sacrifice for the Static Shock, so it'll also reduce the damage of the Static Shock. Unfortunately, as I said earlier, the Cyclone Strike targets our tank. And if it targets the Prot Warrior, they can't Spell Reflect it for whatever reason. From what people have told me and what I understand is that if it targets you, it does a secret hidden spell before it actually does the Cyclone Strike part of it. It's very weird. I'm not going to get into the technical details of it because I don't know how they work. But if anyone does know, make sure to let me know because that'd be pretty cool to know. So he moves out of the way of that. Now, pretty cool thing about Static Shock, or cool in a way, a very unique thing about Static Shock. is you need to use damage reduction effects before Static Shock is cast. So if you can see the circle, you're already too late. Now, what does that mean? It means that if you're going to use Feint on this, you need to be using Feint before the cast finishes. Otherwise, it will not count. It will not reduce the damage because when the cast finishes, it has already calculated the amount of damage that you're going to take from it. Very strange. Now, this is separate for immunities. If you immunity this, obviously you're immune, so you won't die. But if you're going to use a DR, it won't really work. So you can see Static Shock, immense damage on a 21 Tyrannical. JB just dies because he still has my Blessing of I probably, in hindsight, I probably should have canceled the Blessing of Sacrifice on me because it probably killed him. Even though I have Rallying Cry and Diffuse Magic still up, it didn't matter. He's dead, which sucks real bad. So probably a misplay on my part, but I mean, I didn't think it would kill him. Static Shock's no joke. So he dies straight out the gate from that. And we're going, okay, we need a battle resim. Now, unfortunately for me, Aspix has targeted me with his pocket sand ability to push me back. So, I mean, I could battle resim. I have the capability to do that because of engineering, but I can't right now because he's just going to push me back. Strangely, though, for some reason, the pushback doesn't work on me here. I don't know why. I have no idea what I did. I'm literally standing still, so we'll just chalk it up as lucky. Now, one thing is Windwalker Monk, when Adderus has a Lightning Shield, is Adderus at 50 energy will do a move where he'll teleport to somebody. Now, if you have a ranged DPS, usually it prioritizes that sometimes. But as a Windwalker Monk, you have to be careful. Because all of your abilities are just crazy AoE cleave things. And if Adderus happens to teleport on top of Aspix when you're casting an ability that does AoE damage, you can proc the Lightning Shield by accident. You have to be careful of when you use your abilities. Make sure that he is not teleporting during that time. As you can see, I go to use I save my dance proc because I know that he's going to teleport. Because I've died to that one too many times. I've died to that a lot. So just be careful and look at the timings of it because it can be pretty scary. But you can see me double on use. I don't know how to use it yet, so I'm just using it on cooldown. Evade, so in the corner, evade is resing JB with an NG item, which is good. I don't kick this because I don't know. I just didn't kick it, I guess. To be fair though, Gust doesn't do that much damage, but any damage prevented is nice. Alright, so that phase is over. Lightning Shield is going back onto Aspix. And once again, we repeat phase 1. Now, there isn't much else to do. It's just like a rehash of the mechanics at this point. You know, reflect the Cyclone Strike. Bam! 12% damage, 24%. Let's go. I do have a weak aura. They're probably saying, like, why is the Prot War #1 on DPS? He's the tank. I have a weak aura that is adding any damage that he gains from Spell Reflection to the details meters. That's why he's #1. That's why you're seeing this is how much damage Prot War actually does. And then this is the second conduction. It's on evade. He can deal with it pretty well. I get my interrupt, and I go, oh, nice. This time I didn't get the conduction. I can DPS. Then right afterwards, Cyclone Strikes on evade. He sees it, moves out of the way, and then simultaneously, Static Shock again. Let's see if JB survives this one. Now I'm going to use my Touch of Karma on Adderus so I can do damage to him. Now the damage from Touch of Karma will not proc the Lightning Shield. But I used this Karma before the Static Shock finished, so I have this Absorb Shield. Ooh, we live. Everyone lives. We did it. And Lightning Shield is now on Adderus. Now Adderus is pretty low. He does have 2 Mind Flay Tentacles hitting him and my Touch of Karma on him. He will probably die from just dots. But it does look like the Mind Flay Tentacles from the corruption is they die when they hit him because of the Lightning Shield. Pretty cool. I didn't know that. Learn something new every day. But he's pretty low. We ended up killing him. And now it's gonna be pretty easy at this point. It's just Aspect alone, and Aspect alone is pretty easy. He just casts his Pocket Sand ability and then casts Gust at you, which doesn't do a whole lot. So what we're gonna do is what we would see is Yoda is moving the boss. We're gonna pull that pack in front of us, the Charged Dust Devil, the Marksman, and the Crowless Pup, into the boss. We're gonna pull it with the boss, because why not? You know, we don't really need to interrupt Gus. It's kind of whatever. It's not a huge deal if it goes off. The boss doesn't reset until it gets like halfway up the stairs, so we have plenty of room. Now, excellent ring a piece here. I'm going to ring a piece the marksman into my group so that we can get more efficient cleave damage here. Going to ring a piece into the group. Unfortunately, I do clip the Dust Devil as well. I wasn't intending to hit the Dust Devil, but my ring of peace is just too big, man. I was just trying to hit the marksman as best I could. And mission accomplished. So they're in here. Pretty soon, there is a patrol that is a stealth mob that will stun immediately the first target that it sees, and then it will start doing damage. Here's a healing surge here. This is my kick on the healing surge. Get that. And the patrol will be coming soonish. But now we're just cleaving. Watch out where the power shot is going from the marksman. The marksman will cast a frontal power shot, but if you interrupt it with like a gouge, dragon's breath, stun, anything really, not an actual interrupt, but any kind of like CC ability, then the marksman will just go, I guess I just don't know I guess I don't want a power shot now, and then he'll stop doing it. That's usually the easiest way to deal with that mechanic. So I pop my cooldowns, pop my blood of the enemy. I'm just going in with cleave damage. I am last in DPS. That's just the plight of the green man this patch. But I'm catching up, you know, burst damage, a little bit AoE pad, yes. Okay, right here, you're gonna see, there, I waited until the last possible moment in time. I literally cast my spinning crane kick at 0.1 seconds left on my Stormwrath and Fire. Now, you may be asking, why did you do that? Why? What kind of magic do you have? What is the reasoning? The logic here is that when the spirits return to you, they will cast a spell. They can, if you cast a spell before the spirits return to you, they will cast a spell, and you will no longer have the Stormwrath and Fire buff, and it'll do more damage. And if you have 5 stacks of Mark the Crane, spinning crane kick is very easy to do this with. You can do this very easily. And it's a lot of damage, as you will see. I do mess it up, though. I don't quite get it. I end up doing it a little bit too late, so you probably like 0.2 seconds. You want to like move away from the mob so the spirits have to travel to you further and then cast it. So you're gonna see off screen there. You didn't see it, but Evade doing Demon Hunter things. He uses his special eyes. I can see everything. He found the patrol. He pulled it, and now he came back to us. And you're gonna see Yoda immediately stormbolt the mob behind us. And it's gonna stun whoever's closest. I believe it will always stun the tank if it's closest. Yeah, you see Yoda get stunned. And then the mob immediately casts Blade Flurry. Now, Blade Flurry, you have to be careful of melee. Because, because Blade Flurry will cleave his auto attacks if you're close enough. So you just want to be away from the tank and don't get cleaved, because it does a lot of damage and will kill you very quickly. But at this point, Yoda's getting a little bit low. I'm kind of scared. I'll be honest. My butthole was tightened on this pull, on this moment. Yoda's pretty low. We don't have a battle res. Kind of scary. But the boss is finally dead. And now we have to kill the Shrouded Fang, which is pretty easy. And then I think the intention was that we were going to go in the portal. Do we do this here? I forget. I don't remember. Nope. Screw it, man. We didn't intend to do this, but we pulled the rider. And we just kill him. This is pretty uncommon. Usually what people do is they'll have a rogue. At higher levels, what people will do is they'll have most of their group go back into that portal that we made from the ooze. And you'll have your rogue stealth by and then activate this obelisk in front of you. And then you'll just do that immediately. But we ended up pulling this rider. Not very efficient, kind of a pain in the ass to deal with, but YOLO, man. You only live once. Why not pull the rider? Now, I think important to note this week is that it's Raging week, and Raging is a affix that can be dispelled by some classes like Druid, Hunter can dispel Raging. But we don't have one of those in the group. We don't have one of those. So when mobs get low, it is exceptionally dangerous, because we have no way of dispelling this. So on larger pulls, as you're going to see, Yoda just has the kite. There's no way he's going to tank those, because they're just doing... all the mobs are doing twice as much damage as they're really intended to do. But we're going to kill this rider and then head into this obelisk. Now this is Samrek the Beckoner, I believe his name is. Beckoner of Chaos. Almost. So close. And he spawns... his army is that he's going to spawn these flesh beasts that will... they'll bite the closest target that has threat, usually the tank, but if the tank is kiting, anyone who's in melee, it will apply a nasty debuff that does physical damage. And this is pretty much one of the only uses that monk utility gets this patch, it feels like. And Ring of Peace. If the tank is kiting, you can Ring of Peace the Flesh Fiends away from him so that he doesn't die. But Samrak is gonna put out 3 of these debuffs all the time. And these debuffs will fear. After it expires, it'll do an AoE fear if you're near the circle. So you don't want to be in the circle. It's kind of hard to see, but there's purple circles around everyone. And I stand a little bit too close to Yoda. I should have moved, but I didn't want to stand in my eye, but I should have just sucked it up and stood in the eye. And I end up accidentally fearing him. As you can see, the bite debuffs are starting to go out. And I'm gonna cast Chi Burst. I'm gonna cast Fist of Fury. And I'm gonna Ring of Peace, but at this point all the mobs are dead. An additional thing that you can do is you can Ring of Peace the mobs away, and then you can use your Storm, Earth, and Fire, and then you can just go hit the boss while your spirits hit the Flesh Fiends. And your spirits will actually take the bite debuff from the Flesh Fiends, and it's fine. I mean, they might die, which would suck, but that's damage that's not going into a player technically, which can be very nice. Additionally, I'm going to try to heal myself and Yoda so that we don't die here. Raging Bite on Warning. He has evasion up, I believe, and he just dodges it. Pretty nice. Now, one thing that you can do with Windwalker Monk in this patch with this fear debuff is you can diffuse magic to dispel the fear, which will then make it so that the fear does not damage you. Now, there's a bit of a caveat there. When you diffuse magic it will reflect the debuff onto the boss. Now, usually this is a good thing. Usually it's what you want to do. But in this case, it is very much not what you want to do. As it will put the fear circle around the Samrak, and any player that is standing within that circle will get feared. And this usually does not happen, so players are not really ready or prepared for it. So if you're going to do this, if you want, you should really be calling it out way ahead of time. Otherwise, you're going to be trolling your teammates pretty hard. Additionally, this is not worth it because it doesn't. The diffuse magic usually does damage. In this case, it doesn't even do damage. So there's almost no reason to do it. And unless you're gonna die from the fear for some reason, you should just let it go off on yourself. But we're hitting this guy. We're killing him. Got some tendies out. Not my tendies, of course, but someone's tendies. The fear debuff's out. The guy just take it. Now, also important to know about this guy is that you will always get feared in the opposite direction of where Samrak is. So you can kind of control where you're going with your fear. All right, we're back. So we're going to be heading out of this portal here. Now, Yoda doesn't want to get topped off before he leaves, but he doesn't get that. I use my font. So I'm like, all right, we're going to do a big pull. I'm ready. I'm going to use my font. I'm going to do a big pull. I'm going to pop off like my Fire Mage brothers. I'm ready to go. I have a cloak proc too, and it's gone. I didn't really get to do much with that. So I'm trying to figure out kicks here. So it looks like, I don't even know where I kicked on this pull, but we kicked something. I'm trying to focus on the tender for some reason. I TOD'd it. Whatever. We're killing it. I don't want to deal with the heal and also the cleave at the same time. I see Yoda is affected by the frontal breath from the rider. I dispel him with detox. Detox is extremely useful. This is why we picked Ascension. And now we're just kiting up the bridge. Once we dismount these riders, we're pretty much good. Before the riders get dismounted, you cannot crowd control them. But once they are off the Kroll disc, that you can crowd control them. You can Ring of Peace them, sweep them, I think maybe even. But he's just trying to kite, raging, no dispel for it. Pretty scary. Pretty scary. Now, we're doing the big pull. The biggest pull in this dungeon. The infamous snake boss room pull. So there's 3 tenders. Now the 3 tenders in the middle, they get a buff. So for some reason, they are all channeling the egg prior to you pulling them. So once you pull them, all 3 of them will gain the buff that they normally get when they drain an egg, which is, I believe, like a 30% damage buff, I think. So ideally you have a blood elf that can just walk in there on pull and then use Arcane Torrent to dispel all of them for less damage. And we're just gonna be doing some AoE damage here. In this pull, I'm really just focusing on dispelling on cooldown and then just doing as much AoE damage as possible and then getting interrupts on the healing potions. That's pretty much it. I do use a Stormwrath and Fire charge here, but I don't have any other cooldowns. This may not have been the best pull to use Stormwrath and Fire on. I do not say that my cooldown usage was that good this dungeon. Again, I'm experimenting with double on use, man. I'm juggling a lot of timers at the moment. I'm gonna use Ring of Peace on Yoda so that he can drop his necrotic stacks and additionally not die. And I'm also gonna keep dispelling. I use my font here because I'm like, all right, I got all my cooldowns up now. I got a cloak proc. Let's go, come on, do the damage. I get another cloak proc. Really great. Love this game. And then I just get an interrupt. I miss the interrupt and I go, great, cool. And then I just keep AoEing. I don't have Ring of Peace anymore, which would have been really nice to have here, but you know, sometimes you don't have Ring of Peace. I'm going to use TOD without SEF because I want to just get it on cooldown for the boss, so it's up for the boss. It's like a free usage of it. I could have used it better, but I didn't. Sorry, it's very cold in the Great and White North here. I got the sniffles. So we're going to pull these 3 mobs, the 2 incubators and the tenders. Now the incubators will cast Pyrrhic Blast once they get low on HP, which will do huge AoE damage in addition to killing themselves. They just they're just having a good time. So they're gonna die. So we don't need to focus damage on them as much. We need to focus on the tender so the tender dies faster because the tender won't, the Faithless Tender will not cast his ability. Discard notification, and then a little bit of give a cast here. I use paralysis on that to interrupt it so he doesn't get his heal off. And we're just trying to clean up this room. It's like the last 3 mobs. Once that mob dies, it's gonna spawn the boss. She's gonna slither out of the ground, get ready to go. Yoda's gonna leap over and he's gonna pull the I forget what this mob called, agitated Nimbus from the side, and we're gonna pull this Nimbus with the snake boss and then cleave it down efficiently, hitting 2 things at once, man. Pulling that Nimbus can be a little bit tricky, but Yoda is an expert. He is a tank lord, so he knows exactly where he needs to stand in order to pull that thing. So I'm just trying to focus damage on both, cleave efficiently as possible. I'm trying to save my cooldowns for like next phase. I'm gonna have all my cooldowns up for the when she comes up the first time. So you're gonna see the hatch timer here on America. Once that happens, she's gonna go down. Now when she goes down, you have to be very careful of where you're standing because you can immediately get hit by her burrowing if you're standing behind her. So you want to be away from the wall. She'll always go towards the wall first. So here, I could use the cooldowns here if I wanted to pad damage, but I don't want to pad damage. I want to do effective damage. I see Yoda has 25 stacks of necrotic. I'm going to use Ring of Peace so he can kite. We're going to get a raging release charge here. Hurts a lot. Then all these ads are dead, and we're going to just wait for the boss to come up. Oh, there she is. And now we're going to do phase 2. Now phase 2, she's instead changes her ability. Instead of casting Noxus Breath, she's going to cast this, Blinding Sand. You turn away. What I do is I use Touch of Karma on that every time. And then I'm going to cast all my cooldowns. Touch of Death. Brother the enemy. Rising Sun Kick. Fist of Fury. Oh! And boom. Now she's going to cast it again. And once again, she's going to go down when she burrows or when the hatch goes off, or if we get her to a percentage HP, which we did. We got her to her percentage HP. Now she's going to go down and she's going to cast, she's going to bring up these sand-crusted strikers. Now instead of applying a debuff, these will cast a Dust Cloud, which leaves a cloud on the ground, which makes it so you cannot hit the mobs that are currently in Dust Cloud. Now usually what you want to do is use all your AoE CCs, stuns, whatever, to prevent this from going off. But if it does go off, you can, as a monk, you can use Ring of Peace. Ring of Peace is the only ability in the game that will knock them out of that. Because for some reason, it doesn't miss. Can't miss. I don't know why. But it's pretty cool. So now we're in the last phase. The last phase of this boss is kind of just a mix of... she'll do her Noxious Breath mechanic, she'll do her Blinding Sand mechanic, and she'll do her typical Knot of Snakes mechanic. Now additionally, in about 14 seconds, you'll see, she's going to cast Hatch, which means that she'll summon these eggs from the back here, on the left side of the screen. She'll spawn some ads. Now if your DPS is slow in this phase, you will have to deal with a mix of both of the ads from the first two phases. So you just see there's 2 venomous Ophidians and 2 sand-crusted strikers. Now, ideally, you want to have crowd control for these. You want to use, you know, imprison, paralysis, whatever you can. So you have to deal with less of these. Someone in our group, probably Evade or Morning, is going to use their engineering knockback belt to knock that sand-crusted striker away, because we don't want to deal with the dust cloud spawning on the boss and preventing us from damaging it. Excuse me. And now we're gonna shroud here and skip these 2 mobs as they're quite inefficient. We're gonna go through the this little mini game area here, the little gauntlet, little maze. We're gonna pull this agitated Nimbus on the left with the 2 static charge dervishes. Well, I think that's what the plan was, but we're gonna pull this Nimbus and the Stormcaller, and we're gonna kill these 2, and then we're gonna pull the Nimbus into the 2 static charge dervishes. Now for this, you have to have a lot of kicks for this. So the Stormcaller is going to cast shock. You want to ideally interrupt that if it's not targeting a pet or a tank or something. And then the Nimbus will, you know, we already saw the Nimbus. Our friend, the agitated Nimbus, he's going to cast release charge and accumulate charge. Usually a Havoc Demon Hunter can just solo this, so you can like alternate interrupting and dispelling. And now we're gonna do something kind of unusual. We're gonna do the obelisk first. Usually this does not happen. Usually you do this guy after you kill Galvas in order to just skip the gauntlet, but this time we did not do that. We killed him first. Very kind of weird, but we ended up just trying to go for this because we were there. I think it's what happened. And we're gonna bring this guy past and do the 3 mobs afterwards, the 3 dervishes. Now the dervishes are probably my least favorite trash in the entire game. But what the dervishes will do is they will spam cast like a zap move that you can't interrupt. It's like instant cast. They'll spam cast on random players, and it does a lot of damage. Now you can outrange this. I believe it has like a 30-yard range. So if you get far enough away, then you will not be targeted. So if you're having a bad time and they're just bullying you and all just zapping you like crazy and you're about to die, one of the options if you're ranged or if you have a lot of mobility is just to run away. Just flee, just run away from the bullies so you don't die. Additionally, every so often, they will teleport to the closest target, and the teleport is very fast, and it leaves a circle on the ground before they teleport, and if you stand in that circle, it does a lot of damage to you, like a lot of damage. And to not get hit by it, you need to have some very quick reactions, very fast. So ideally, the tank is the closest to all 3 of them, so that he is the one that gets teleported on. You're going to see it very shortly here, the teleport. So here comes, they're just zapping away. I'm using my cooldown. There comes a zap. Oh no, I used my rolling dragon punch. I couldn't move out of it. Did half my HP. So I'm going to use my touch of karma here. I'm going to use Ring of Peace. Oh, let's go back. Let's look at that. Ring of Peace again. So I noticed that one of these dervishes, one of them, is slightly too far away, right? And I see that Yoda is gathering them in the corner. He wants to shepherd them into this corner, so that he can be the strong man to tank all of them. And I go, yeah, all right. Boop. And I Ring of Peace him just a little Ring of Peace to knock him a little bit closer to Yoda, so that maybe, just maybe, this dervish won't teleport on us. Additionally, it is raging, so once these things rage, again, we don't have a dispel for enrage. They're gonna do a lot of damage. So ideally, we do not want to do that much AoE on this pull. Ideally, we want to focus one at a time because we don't have a raging dispel. And even if you do have raging dispel, I think on raging weeks, it's pretty smart on these mobs to just focus one so you don't die. So we're gonna focus that one down. Now, unfortunately, as a Windwalker Monk, my priority damage on one target outside of my cooldowns is pretty bad. I don't really have much. I just AoE cleave. I'm the guy that's like, come on, bro, aren't you helping? I'm doing the best I can. Unfortunately, I'm standing right in the middle of a circle at 61 HP. My life is flashing before my eyes right now. I can see all of the events of my life. Oh, it's over. 61% of my HP gone. Now, I could have moved out of that. If I saw it a little bit sooner, I could have rolled away. Unfortunately, sometimes our age catches up with us and we're just a little bit too slow. And I die. But we kill this dervish. JB then also dies. The poll at this point is getting out of control because we do have a lot of AoE in this group between Havoc, Windwalker, and Prot Warrior. Like, everyone in this group does AoE damage basically, right? So all the dervishes are raging. So JB also goes down. We use darkness. We're just trying to live. That darkness, such a smart heads-up play. Evade sees his healer die, recognizes the fact that the pull is not going well. Immediately darkness. Try to salvage this because he sees he's healthy, right? Because he's a Havoc Demon Hunter. He's always healthy. But the rogue and the warrior looking pretty scary right now. So what they're trying to do is just focus down these two low ones. The lowest, they're trying to kill them as efficiently as possible. Kill the low one. Oh, look at that. 351k damage. What the heck is that? The warrior's making are we all going to live here? He's going to live? Getting zapped? Oh! Teleports her. Oh! He tries to move out of that. Misses it by an inch. He tries to juke him out. He's like, I'm over here. Come over here. I'm going to go over this way. Too slow. That teleport is extremely fast. Yoda also goes down. Yeah, but fortunately, Evade is also an engineer. He can do it all. And he reses JB, and then we get a mass res. This happens. I mean, this is Raging Week is kind of hard for these guys, kind of difficult. Makes these mobs much more difficult than they usually are. Pretty unfortunate. So we all get rezzed. And now we're gonna clear up the trash. We need to kill the rest of these 3 dervishes in order to spawn the boss, Galvas. Now, on Gal, I'm trying to keep up my cooldowns. So, like, before we get into Galvas, I'm trying to make sure that I have my cooldowns for Galvas, because it is Tyrannical Week. Galvas is a difficult boss, especially when necrotic. The boss can be really hard. So we're trying to focus on not using cooldowns, ideally, on this pull. We pull the two mobs. They're going to teleport pretty soon to Yoda. There they go. There's 1. And there's 2. I do end up using my cooldowns here because, like, what I basically think in my head is, like, I don't think we're going to wipe on Galvas. We have a lot of boss damage. I don't think we're going to wipe on Galvas, man. I do think we're going to wipe on these dervishes again if they are allowed to rage individually and murder us. So I immediately are like, all right, I'm going to cool down this. I just cool down the dervish. I'm like, kill this dervish. Kill him really fast. All right, 1 down, 2 to go. I'm not too worried about it, man. I'm not too worried about Galvas. We're probably only going to get like 1 cooldown pretty much on Galvas anyway, so I'm just going to murder him. So again, we're marking the dervishes now and saying like, hey, focus Skull. Kill Skull. Don't get the other one into raging. Ah! Teleport. Watch out. All right, kill this one. This is kind of more how you're supposed to deal with these mobs. Is just mark one as Skull, focus that one down, kill it, mark a different one, kill it, and like don't get them all to rage. Again, JB dies. That teleport is so fast. I cannot stress. Look, let's go back. Let's go back here. The teleport is so fast. Like JB gets a heal off, right? He does a flash of light or whatever. And he goes in, he does his Holy Paladin thing, he goes into melee, does his Crusader strike, and then he's like, alright, mob's almost dead. The circle appears on the ground. Literally 0.5 seconds. And JB recognizes and goes, oh, I need to move backwards and get out of this. Huh! Doesn't matter. Very fast. Fortunately, one of the very valuable utilities that Windwalker Monk brings to the group, instead of a Fire Mage, that we have an advantage over a Fire Mage, is I have a res. I can just res whenever I want. No profession required. And it's easy. We res, no problem. We get it. So now, the hardest part of the dungeon probably, Galvas on Tyrannical. Now Galvas, we need to soak the pillars so he doesn't get too much energy, because if he gets too much energy, he will use an ability and murder all of us, basically. Because the pillars, we have to intercept them so that he stops getting energy. Now, usually you want to have one person in charge of this to call. In this case, we have Evade calling it. Personally, I am not good at this. I'm not good at calling this, especially on Windwalker Monk, where I'm like trying to do 4D chess in my head as I DPS. That I can't have my camera all zoomed out and like looking where the things are going. Ideally, you want to have be calling out if you can take the pillar, and then calling out where it is. You see, Evade is a Demon Hunter, and he's in meta, so he's taking like 18 stacks, no problem. You know, Demon Hunter things. I take 1, use my Touch of Karma, use my other cooldown in my funnel. I'm gonna funnel my Touch of Karma damage into my Touch of Death during Storm, Earth, and Fire, and use the rest of my cooldowns as well. This is kind of the ideal situation. You're gonna see my DPS skyrocket here, because the Touch of Karma damage, because my clones during Storm, Earth, and Fire do not copy my Touch of Karma, it's going to, my Touch of Karma, instead of contributing 10% of its damage into Touch of Death, it's going to be contributing 30% of its damage, which is going to lead to a huge Touch of Death at the end of this. Additionally, I use my Blood of the Enemy, and I have 2 seconds left on my on-use trinket. I'm going to use my on-use trinket immediately after my Fist of Fury ends, and then get that extra crit and crit damage on this trinket. Boom! This is a crit. 275k. 275k? Pretty good. Pretty good for this. Discord notification again. Sorry about that. And we're gonna keep DPS in this boss. Almost dead. Almost dead. We're pretty much towards the end of this dungeon. There really isn't much else to do. Galvest is the hardest part of this dungeon. At this point, it's just execution, right? It's soaking the pillars correctly, calling that out, and just killing Galvest. We have already lusted. We're all doing 80k, almost 80k DPS. We're extremely strong. You know, Prot Warrior doing 50k DPS, very good. We're doing a lot of, all of us in the group are doing a lot of damage to make this possible. And JB, shout outs to JB. JB doing a lot of HPS. This fight is very healing intensive. So JB's in a bop to drop the necrotic stacks. Yoda almost dies, gets extremely low. So once I target Yoda with 2 Vivifies to help out, because if he dies, we're fucked. We don't have a res. We don't have a fast res, right? We have a battle res, but the time we get the battle res off, the fight is too scuffed. We're gonna be done. So I try to make sure that he doesn't die. I'm healing him, making sure that he lives as a priority. As a priority, I want him to live. Cast Chi Burst again. I'm trying to use my cooldowns to make sure this guy goes down. And for some reason, Galvast has turned green. It's March. He's in the spirit of St. Patrick's Day. You know, he's Irish. He's celebrating. I don't know why he's green. I have no idea, but he's green. But we're gonna keep soaking and just kill the boss. At this point, it's pretty much a victory lap. The boss is dead. Like a 7%. Everyone's pretty healthy. You know, we're looking good, man. I don't have any cooldowns. Ideally, as a Windwalker Monk on this fight, you only want to be soaking the pillars if you have a defensive, like Karma. You could maybe soak 2 pillars in a row if you had Diffuse Magic, potentially, because that is a pretty big DR. But you aren't the tankiest class. You don't have that much self-healing, so maybe not the greatest idea. Now, usually, as I said earlier, you would bring the Tank Buster Obelisk guy through the gauntlet here instead of what we did here. Usually you don't have to deal with this maze normally this season, but you know, it's fine. We deal with them just fine. Old school way. Now next up, we're gonna be doing the last obelisk in this dungeon, which is the caster guy. I forget what his name is, so we'll see in a moment, but the caster guy, the spider guy. And we're just waiting for traffic at this point. We're waiting for the conscripts, you know, to cross the road, look both ways, and we're like, all right, come on, hurry it up, wrap it up. And then I use Ring of Peace. I'm like, get out of the way, get out of the street. And they don't learn. We're just waiting for foot traffic. Eventually, they're gonna pass, and then we're gonna use the obelisk, and we're just gonna kill him right here. Now, this guy, he's gonna do like 2 different casts. He has a shadow cast and a nature cast. So you need to have like a lot of interrupts in order to do this. So ideally, once again, the tank goes in first and everyone waits. If you have a Prot Warrior tank, ideally the tank goes in first. Because Prot Warrior, once again, can just spell reflect the first cast on them, which saves you an interrupt. But at this point, we're just going to be getting kicks. We have 3 melee, so it should be pretty easy. One of the dangerous parts of getting this kick, though, is that if the scarabs are exploding on top of the boss, sometimes as a melee you just can't get the kick because you do not want to be standing in that explosion. And doing AoE damage on this pole is actually not bad, because again, you don't have to deal with the explosions. It can be really nice. We're just gonna kill this guy right here. We don't really use him to skip anything. And coming up, you're going to see the cleanest the orb room has ever been done, that I've ever seen it done. The cleanest I've ever seen it done. Where only one person ends up dying, and we don't battle res. It's pretty magical. So, we have people assigned here. So Morning Wind is going to go to the right and handle the right side and get the orb on the right side and bring it to the skull. Evade is going to do the left side. What we're doing is we're just waiting. See, Yoda, our tank, is going to pick up all of the mobs and then pull them away from the orb so that we can do them without getting in combat. So as you can see, I'm not in combat here. We're just waiting. Then we see the orb guardian go away, and we're like, all right. It's very stealthy, very stealthy. All right. Evade them to the left side here. He's going to dunk the orb. Me and JB. JB has his hands up for some reason. I'm not sure why. He's very excited. And then me and JB just very slow but surely just sneak on by. And that is the cleanest orb we've ever seen. None of us get in combat. None of us. Only Yoda. He dies. Not a huge deal. I mean, obviously for him it's a huge deal. He doesn't want to die, but he makes the sacrifice for us. He dies. We all get out of combat. Pretty nice. We only lose one there. Usually everyone dies. Kind of sucks. But here we're gonna do like another Shroud of Concealment. I'm gonna Tiger's Lust JB because his mobility kind of stinks. I could have also Tiger's Lusted Yoda War, which maybe I should have done because he had a speed pot there. Kind of sucks. And then I'm gonna use my rolls to get past and not aggro the mobs. Now the Hoodoo Hexers. So what you saw there, let's go back for just a second. Go back just a second. So what you're gonna see here is you're gonna see Yoda. He's gonna come out of Shroud. Let's see if I can get this perfectly here. Yoda's gonna clap, which brings him out of Shroud. He's gonna need Thunderclap, brings him out of Shroud. And he's gonna stand directly at the middle point between these two Hexers, and he's gonna aggro both of them. And they're both gonna cast Lava Burst on him simultaneously, and he's gonna Spell Reflect both Lava Burst casts with one Spell Reflect. Unfortunately, one of them casts a little bit earlier. He doesn't get aggro on both, but what you see here, what he does is he moves closer to the one that is the later cast, so that the projectile time of that Lava Burst on Circle is much faster, which potentially could lead to getting both reflects, but I guess he just deems that it's too far apart. He's gonna interrupt one and reflect the other. So pretty good. As a Windwalker monk, though, you're gonna see that Yoda has Flame Shock. Now, Flame Shock on these guys does a ton of damage. A ton of damage. And you can use Diffuse Magic on Flame Shock in order to reflect it back onto the Hexers. But the thing is that I don't believe there's a way to guarantee the Hexers targeting you with Lava Shock. I believe it's completely random. It's just a random player. So ideally they target you. In terms of interrupting, though, you want to be calling out interrupts, autographic interrupts on the Lava Burst, and you want to be as a melee, you want to be interrupting at the very end of the cast in order to be able to interrupt every single one of them. As the Lava Burst casts are very frequent, so ideally you want to interrupt towards the end of it. It'd be very good. Okay, what you're gonna see here is Yoda's gonna do a leap. Very beautiful. This is a technology that was discovered in Season 2. As a warrior, you're gonna stand in the middle. You're gonna stand directly in the middle here, right here, and then you're gonna heroic leap to the other side, and it's gonna aggro both Hexers again, and then double Spell Reflect. Boom. Both of them aggroed at the same time, same cast. Spell Reflect, stand in the middle. 300k DPS. Very good. And at this point, we're just gonna do the casts, get the interrupts, and kill these mobs, and then it's the last boss. Now, the last boss, without any of the mini bosses from the obelisk, is pretty straightforward. It's the same fight we've been doing for almost 2 years now, so not much else to say about it. One thing I will say as Windwalker monk is that I do save all my cooldowns here, and I use all my cooldowns on the Heart Guardian in order to kill that as fast as possible. I use Touch of Karma early for more TOD damage, as you're going to see here. And because we picked Ascension, I can help out on healing a little bit as well. So I'm going to get my font. I'm waiting for this Heart Guardian to spawn, and then I'm going to use my TOD and my Touch of Karma on it. So I get this debuff here, this debuff on the top left of the screen here, top right of the screen here. This is a lot of taking damage to you, like a lot. And it is recommended that you use a defensive if you have one. Karma's pretty good here because you can Karma the Heart Guardian and do more damage during your TOD. I don't think I do it here though, unfortunately. I think I was too focused on double on use, make sure I got that activation right that I messed it up. But still, pretty good. I use Karma on this thing instead. It's very good to use it. And nuke it down. You're going to see that the Witch Doctor spawned here on the left and then evade immediately use Imprison on it. It's nice to keep that CC'd, especially in Season 4, where in Season 4, you're going to have approximately 2 Witch Doctors spawn in this phase. And you're going to CC both of them, and then once you finish the Hexers off and you get into the healing phase, the DPS are going to kill... excuse me. The DPS are going to kill 1 Plague Doctor, while you leave 1 up. We're going to leave 1 Plague Doctor alive for the Holy Paladin, because the Holy Paladin gains a lot more efficient healing from having a mob alive and being able to hit it. Unfortunately, JB hits this a little bit too early, but ends up working out just fine anyway. I almost die. Oh, very scary. JB bubbles, and he's going to hit the mob to get more efficient healing onto the boss, and I'm just going to, at this point, as a Windwalker, I'm just going to spam Vivify on the boss, because doing damage to this Plague Doctor doesn't really matter too much, because the Holy Paladin is just going to do damage to it to get healing. And I just need to do extra healing, I guess. Give myself something to do during this phase. I'm going to interrupt. We're going to keep healing. Now the boss will transition to the second phase at 70%, and usually you want to use Bloodlust on this phase, but unfortunately, we don't have Bloodlust. Not yet. We're just short. So we're going to have to deal with this phase. This is probably the hardest phase, as there's a lot going on. All of a sudden, in addition to having this Heart Guardian, there's going to be a lot of Plague Doctors. There's going to be a lot of Toads spawning out all over the place. And look at that. Our cooldowns are up again. We're going to use TOD on this guy again. And this time, I successfully used Touch of Karma on him. Nice. We have a double on use here. And just delete that Heart Guardian from existence. And now we're going to move on over to the Hexer. Now, unfortunately, what's going to happen here is the Plague Doctor is in a break. You know, it just happens. There's a lot of AoE in this patch that doesn't happen when you want it to. Now, I want to paralysis this. My goal is to paralysis this. The problem is my unit frames aren't really set up in a good way. So I don't know if this guy has a dot. I have no idea. If he has a dot, paralysis is pretty bad. But I get confirmation from Yoda that he says there's no dot on it. So what I try to do, I'm like, all right, I could immediately paralysis it, but I want to get it away from evade. I want to get it to a spot where it won't break again immediately. So I bring a piece of back. Unfortunately, I accidentally mouse over the Plague Toad and click on him for a second, and I paralysis the Plague Toad. Yeah, it was a mistake. Unfortunate. Whatever. We'll just interrupt it. We'll bring it over here and we'll kill it. It's unfortunate, but it's not a huge deal, right? Because we're gonna have another Plague Doctor spawn pretty soon anyway, and it's not a huge deal. We're gonna finish off the Hexers, and then usually what you can do here for your healer is you can ring a piece the healer so that they can plant and just heal the boss and not have to worry about the toads. But as you see, it wasn't a big deal. We're gonna let JB handle that one over there, and we're gonna kill the star Plague Doctor. A lot of Plague Toads. Ideally, we clean this up. I see JB has the Plague Toad debuff, which reduces the healing that he's doing by 50%. So I'm going to make sure that I use Detox on him immediately so that he can heal and dispel him. Unfortunately, he gets another one, but he's a paladin, so he can dispel himself. Very good. And now at this point, he's wingsed up, and the same thing as the first phase. He's just gonna whack this Plague Doctor while we interrupt it, and I'm gonna help heal a little bit. You see, I'm catching up on the healing meters. 14k HPS. It does matter a little bit, boys. It does matter a little bit. And we get into the last phase. Now, the last phase of this fight is basically a victory lap. You're good to go. Like you've succeeded in this fight. As long as you don't die, as long as no one dies by the time, as you see in the top right, the avatar of Sethraliss completes her cast, as long as no one dies, you're looking good. Because she will apply a debuff to you, which is in reality a buff, that gives you immense amount of haste and reduces damage you take by 90%. Which is going to make this exceptionally easy. Now, at this point, I know that JB is the one who's going to leave. So we want to have one person leave in order to go pull all of the mobs on the stairs that we shrouded. Because now we have this buff. We're not really scared of these mobs anymore. We can kill them pretty easily. So I'm going to use Tiger's Lust on him as he leaves so that he can get back faster. He does use his horse, but Tiger's Lust does last 6 seconds, so he does get some benefit out of it. Now, I'm going to use my font. Get ready for this big pull. I did sand in the lightning thing, but I have this buff, so I'm feeling great. We do end up lusting here at some point, so... Excuse me. We're all looking pretty great. This video is going on to be an hour or so, so I've been talking for about an hour. And we're just going to be hitting this boss, man. This is the victory lap. We're going to TOD, we're going to do some big AoE, and just spam the AoE. And that's pretty much it to this fight. We're going to kill all these mobs, get all of our count, kill the boss, and the key's over. And that's pretty much Temple in a nutshell. I hope this video helps out. Let me know what you think about this video in the comments, if I should do more of these or not. Make sure to like as it helps me out, and if you're not already, please subscribe. And this is Temple, man. And hope we all learned something today, in that we could all play better, even in myself. This Temple is was pretty all right, pretty clean. Well, we had some moments. We all could play better. Overall, Temple is an excellent dungeon. And as you see here, we're gonna get it. Last Hexer. I'm gonna kill this Hexer. Oh, we got the trash. Last Hexer. RSK. Oh. That's it. End of the dungeon. End of the video. Thank you for watching. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.